So we're starting to learn more about how Max works and how to do things in different ways. And pretty soon you're going to start having a lot of things happening at the same time in your patch. And it's important to know in what order they happen and how you can control that. So Max is a visual programming language, right? So everything happens visually, and that also includes the order of operations. So order of operations just means things happen in certain sequences because of how they are ordered visually. So when you have, for example, you have three messages, okay, that are being banged at the same time. So we create a bang object with the key B and connect it to the first inlets of the message boxes. So you are banging three messages and maybe you are printing the result. And the question is, which one is printed first and with what order they are printed? So let's say these messages go from left to right to right. And when we lock our patch and bang each object, it will be printed first from the right, then the middle, then the left. So things on the horizontal scale, objects will be triggered from right to left. In the vertical, let's create three messages, and they go from top to bottom. And we are banging it at the same time. Let's create a bang object and connect it to the three messages. And then we print out the result from each one. So when we bang the three messages, they will be printed from bottom to top. So things are triggered first from the right side and the bottom. So if you have if you have two objects that are being triggered from the same bang, for example, and one of them is on the bottom right and one of them is on the top left of your patch, the bottom right will always get triggered first. And that is called order of operations in Max. But maybe you don't want to organize your patch in this way, because when you're working on it and things get complicated, you will see that you will try to look for suitable spaces to have things stay in so you can follow things right. So you may not always want objects to get triggered this way. And what you can do to control your own order is you can use a trigger object. So a trigger object, you can also, just for practicing, let's open up the help for trigger object and check the contents. Okay, trigger says send input to many places and outputs and inputs received in order from right to left, formatted according to the object arguments specified. Don't confuse yourself with what's going on here. Let's get back to our patch. So what you need to know is you can send one thing in it that will trigger multiple things. And the order of that will be from the right inlet first and then to the left. So let's trigger two bangs. So when we write it like this, we create two bangs, but it says it means you send a bang after a bang. So this one will be sent first and this one will be sent after. So we trigger bang after bang and we create messages. For example, let's say first this one gets triggered, which will be the right side. And then message second, this one will get triggered from this side. And we can print the result. And let's send a bang, which will trigger two bangs. Lock your object, hit bang. So the rightmost outlet will bang first, and then the other one the second. And this doesn't matter. You can unlock your patch and you can move your object around lock your patch, click it, it will still take place first because we are using the trigger object to make sure that it gets triggered before the left outlet. So what you can trigger is you can trigger anything basically. So we can maybe, instead of a bang, let's just send a number. Let's delete this and create a number box. And let's say, let's trigger, this is an integer. So let's just say trigger integer, I for integer, space, and then let's trigger a float, and then make a space, and then let's trigger a bang. You can also type just B for bang. These short versions are important to know, and you can even actually shorten the trigger object to just T. It's that frequently used. So you can say T trigger integer after float after bang. So we can just delete these and connect the three outputs to print. And we know what order they're going to put out in. So we can lock the patch and just type in a number. So when we type in a number, we get three results. The first one is a bang, because that's the last one here. And then the second one is a float. Even though we sent in an integer, we're saying trigger a float with it. So it takes that number and makes a float with it. Pretty convenient. And then lastly, we trigger the integer. So this is how you order your things. And if you're using the plus object, for example, and you need two numbers, and like our previous example, because the cold inlet is cold, but you want to make sure that the numbers, if you change any number, it should work. Well, what do? You trigger the hot inlet after changing the cold one, right? So you can create a trigger object, T, and you can say send a bang after sending out the integer. And if you connect this patch cord to the trigger object before you send it to the number box, which you send it from the second outlet, because that's the integer, and you can bang the hot inlet so that every time you change the value here, even when it's even when it's not supposed to be triggered from the cold inlet, we can just say trigger bang, so you can bang the hot inlet and then get the result. You see, I hope you can see why this thing is super useful when you're working with objects that work in certain ways and you order what types of data are triggered when.